Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Welcome everyone to season number 10 of the Esports Racing League, presented by Grassroots Motorsports Magazine and Paddock Motorsports here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsburg with Morgan Burkhardt joining me in the commentary booth, along with Josh Wilkie in the virtual production trailer, bringing you all the great views of tonight's action. Thanks, Josh. And so tonight we head to Birmingham, Alabama, and George Barber's Dixieland Delight. With its 16 turns over 2.4 miles, this track penned by Alan Wilson just 20 years ago, Barber Motorsports Park features a flowing layout with numerous elevation and camber changes to challenge even the most seasoned racer, even Skip Brock Jr., who I think has probably had more laps at this track than anybody else here tonight. And while the circuit has gained a reputation as a processional track for the likes of IndyCar, the lower speeds of tonight's racers should make for a great evening of racing for tonight's regular season finale. For those of you joining us for the first time, welcome, and we wish you here the previous 8 weeks. We've got 4 different classes that race here in the Esports Racing League. We've got Spec Racer Ford and Spec Miata, as well as 2 touring car classes, one that features the Volkswagen Jetta TDI Cup cars and the other featuring the Toyota GR86 Cup cars, and both of those classes, they're out on track currently. And each class races 6 times over the course of our 9-week season. This is week 9, by the way. And with Spec Miata wrapping up their season last week, tonight we're going to start off with those touring car classes. They're going to be sharing the track, and then we're going to close things out with Spec Racer Ford. And so good evening, Morgan, and welcome to Birmingham.
Good evening, Greg. This is... honestly, to drive, this has got to be one of my favorite tracks ever. The really? Elevation and the different kinds of corners that you get. Like this section right here, you come up over this crest of the hill, it's blind.
Yeah, that's where I usually go off it into the wall.
Well, honestly, me too. The way that all of these corners are shaped, the elevation in such interesting spots makes this a real treat to drive, and when you get it right, it's so satisfying.
All right, well, let's do this, Morgan. I think we've come on just at the right time. We're on board, well, we were on board with Caleb Patry, who is currently our provisional pole sitter in the Toyotas. He's starting another lap here at Barber. Let's follow him around.
As we're coming up and over the hill into turn 2, use the uphill to kind of catch the car, but as soon as you crest that hill, it gets off camber and downhill. So we're going to try and come around Trenton Kramer going down this back straight area here into another downhill braking zone. So you got to brake a little bit earlier than you think you do. just kind of bend it into the corner there, make it a double apex, getting a lot of oversteer from that curb on the middle of it. A nice save there by Mr. Caleb Patry, but keeping it tight on the exit, making sure to carry a good run out, as that is one of the slowest corners on the track. But this is what I call a send section. It's just really bending the car in, straight lining over this curb, getting on the brakes, getting down into that little bowl section.
Yeah, that section called the corkscrew. Nothing like the corkscrew at Laguna Seca, though, is it, Morgan?
No, it's similar, but coming through this chicane, and these cars pretty flat out, not too hectic, bouncing over the curbs, making that line as straight as possible, and then into this downhill dip. Gonna keep the car to the middle of the track and then get a little bit on that curb and then drifting out over the crest of the hill. Car gets really light as you're coming out of the compression, and then coming straight, make a diagonal line across the track, coming into the final two corners, keeping it tight on the exit so that you can get a good bend through the final corner, using all the track on the exit, and there you go. That's a completed lap of one of the most technical tracks in the country.
There you go. So Caleb Patry did not improve upon his provisional pole time. They are just about 0.6 off, but a good demonstration here of how challenging it is at Barber Motorsports Park, because these cars are constantly again changing direction, and you're having a lot of changes in camber along this track surface as well. And I think, you know, this certainly is a track, Morgan, that creates some problems, if anything, for these Volkswagen Jettas, given how many times you do have to bend these cars into some very tight corners.
Yeah, a notoriously pogo sticky car. It's, you know, you have to be very careful of the curbs. Like, the curbs here are fairly flat. This is a track that was mainly introduced for motorcycle racing, so all the curbs are fairly usable in a car like this, but that will not stop the Jetta from hopping its way to space. So a lot of high load prolonged corners will make tire saving a challenge for the drivers tonight. You got to really take good care of the front tires on these Jettas, as they are front wheel drive and very torquey.
All right, and we were just watching Megan Overstreet in the purple 044 machine, currently your third fastest driver in the T4 class in with the Volkswagen Jettas. She put in her best lap of the session, a 139.21, and it's about 0.3 off of Miles Crabb, who's our provisional pole sitter, and only about 0.1 off of Skip Brock Jr., who I mentioned early on during the Open. Skip, a Spec Miata driver in real life, but this is his home track, and always seems to do well here. Hey, so let's do this, Morgan, as we're now just about 10 minutes into this 15-minute qualifying session. Let's quickly take a look at the last round for our touring cars, and we'll take a look at the current point standings coming into the very last race of the regular season. We'll start off with the Volkswagen Jettas, where both classes were at Lime Rock Park last week at the Bullring. Seth Spolman got his very first win in the Ray Esports Racing League. Started on pole, fell back, and then worked his way back up through the field for the win. Miles Crabb, who started 5th, took the silver medal, and Megan Overstreet, who started 7th, and there was a very tight battle for the lead in the Jettas coming into last week's round, with Crabb only leading Overstreet by a couple of points. Overstreet qualified 7th, she finished 3rd, and so she loses a few more points, with Murphy Nichols finishing 4th, Trenton Kramer finishing 5th, and there are the point standings as they are. Miles Crabb, with his win, moves up to 106 points. And Seth Spolman, with his win, displaces Trenton Kramer for 2nd. Spolman with, as you can see there, he is 9 points back with 97. Then Trenton Kramer, Megan Overstreet, considerably further back at 79. And then Jake Schilling rounding out your top 5. If we go over and look at the Toyotas at the GR86 Cup cars, it was a hell of a battle, Morgan, between Josh Soto and Caleb Patry at the front of the field, and it was they started on the front row, and it was just a race that Beans Forster could not keep his car up and in the fight for, but Josh Soto took the win, margin of victory 45/100ths of a second over Patry. Beans Forster finished in third, with Ray Blethen in his return to the Ray Sports Racing League at his home track at Lime Rock Park, finishing fourth, with Deacon Greenfield finishing in fifth. And there are the points right now. Caleb Patry, and you know, I jinxed it. It was the announcer's curse last week, Morgan. That after Caleb had done so well in the Spec Miata race to lead off the night, and mentioned that he had run the table so far. Well, Patry now has he has 3 wins here this season, with Beans Forster and now Josh Soto with the other 2 wins, but Patry with a commanding lead going into tonight's final round.
Yeah, but the lead for T3 looks pretty comfortable, but taking a look at the Jetta, second, third, and fourth are fairly tight, and Seth Spolman has a good shot at picking up on Miles Crab's spot for the championship if he can string a couple good laps together, and maybe Miles Crab has some mayhem during his race.
That's right. And so you can see Seth Spolman now. And by the way, the T4 class, those are the Jettas. The T3 class, those are the Volkswagens. Seth Spolman, who was our winner last week at Lime Rock Park, currently 4th fastest, but just as we saw at Lime Rock, where I think like 10 of the 15 Jettas were all within about 0.8 of a second in qualifying. Also, again, very, very close here. And Spolman about 0.4 back from Megan Overstreet. That would determine who sits on the inside of row number 2. Although, you tell me, Morgan, going into turn 1 at Barber, isn't the play usually to be on the outside, going through turn 1, kind of sweep around through turn 1, and you're set up then to come down the hill for turns 2 and 3?
Well, I would say the strategy is different depending on what row you're on. If you're the pole sitter, I would want to be on the inside, because then you can really whale it down into the braking zone into turn 1 and hopefully clear your row mate by the time that you get to turn 2. So
Okay.
it really gives you the ability to force your row mate's hand. But if you're on the second, third, fourth row, I would probably want to be on the outside, because you can't count on that.
Gotcha. As we're watching Seth Spolman right now in that number 42 machine. And as he explained last week at Lime Rock, he's sporting the livery for the Back Roads of Appalachia, an organization that brings racing events, and in many cases non-traditional racing events, as the checkered flag is now out on qualifying and last flying laps here will count, non-traditional motorsports events to some of the public roads in the Kentucky and Tennessee and West Virginia areas that have been hit so hard by the loss of the coal industry over the years, like the Appalachian. They are part of the Appalachian Hill Climb Association. Pine Mountain in Tennessee, one of their signature events. They just held a drift event in West Virginia this past week on public roads, not on a traditional race course like Barber. And so doing a lot of wonderful things. All right, so we have qualifying finishing up. We're looking right now at Skip Brock Jr., currently our 2nd fastest Volkswagen Jetta driver, as he has, looks like, Morgan coming out of the final corner onto the front straight. And we'll see, and as he comes to a stop there on the front straight, looks like he didn't think he was going to improve and move up to the pole. I think we still have, well, I thought we had Megan Overstreet and Olivier Piatek on track, but looks as though they have completed their last flying laps as well. And so within a couple moments here, we will get our field onto the front straight and start gridding up for our pace lap.
Yeah, and this is a fairly close field. Looking at the times, it's only 0.3 for the pole in T3 and 0.3 for the pole in the Jetta. So we're looking real good for a very close event here tonight.
All right, so the field is starting to grid up here. Let's run down the starting order. If you don't mind, Morgan, I'll take the Toyotas, and if you'll take the Jettas. Starting on pole, driving the number 198 machine. It's Caleb Patry with the qualifying time of 136.38. Kyle Robertson will start to his right. And as you mentioned, only 0.3 off of Patry's pace there in the number 215 machine. Rick Wishon will start third tonight in the number 74 machine, with Olivier Piatek starting in fourth. And we've got Andrew Wozencroft and Michael Snow. They'll make up row number 3 this evening, starting 5th and 6th, with John Wilson and Eric Yeagle starting 7th and 8th. Eric, a B-spec racer in his own right. I believe they've just now moved back to Texas from Indianapolis. Then we've got Josh Justice and Stevie Ray, who will make up row number 5. And neat to see Stevie Ray driving a Jetta tonight, Morgan, or probably driving a Toyota tonight.
It is, but our pole sitter in the Touring 4 class in the Jettas is going to be Miles Crabb, your championship leader for the finale event here in the Esports Racing League. His roommate will be Skip Brock Jr. on the outside of the front row, just 0.3 behind. Megan Overstreet and Seth Spolman will start in the 3rd and the 4th spot, both pretty close to the pole sitter's time. Jim Brewster and Trenton Kramer will start in 5th and 6th, with Andrew Love and Jacob Schilling making up your 4th row. Joaquin Effinger and Wayne Buttermore less than 300 apart. as is every week, those two be fighting each other very hard. So 300s apart in qualifying, starting 9th and 10th on the grid. And Gary Winters, who I'm not sure is on the grid, but Gary Winters will be starting in 11th.
Yeah, and it looks like Olivier Piatek in the 174 Toyota did not take to the track for the pace lap. All right, while the pace lap is continuing here, Morgan, let's quickly talk about tonight's sponsor for our first race of the evening, and that's Grass Paddock Motorsports, providing Mini Cooper race car rentals, trackside support, and coaching at tracks all over the eastern half of the country. GPM provides podium-capable rentals for B-Spec, the fastest-growing class of racing in the Sports Car Club of America for the last 3 years, and it's currently the 4th largest class overall nationwide. Grass Paddock has a unique approach where their race cars are located near the track you want to race at instead of being kept in a central location, and that way you get to avoid the large towing fees as part of your rental. Come join us at Grass Paddock Motorsports, where Grass Paddock is not about our location, but about our attitude. For more information, visit www.grasspaddock.com.
It's a very, very cool initiative that they got going for this season, where they will be picking, I think it's one driver from the Jetta field to get their license, one previously not licensed for a competition driver to go get their license, and one that is licensed to go out and drive a B-Spec Mini Cooper. But as our field is going to be coming up to the green flag, Caleb Patry has control of the field with Kyle Robertson right beside him. You're going to see how late this green is going to be. Going on board with Caleb Patry, getting ready, and
there
green
you go.
is in the air.
Green flag, and we are racing here at Barber, jumping out from the inside lane there. That's Rick Wishon. Not able to make up all that much ground, though, on Michael Snow, as Caleb Patry leads the field up the hill into turn number 1, with Kyle Robertson slotting in second. And good move, though. Good jump by Michael Snow, making up 3 positions as our Jettas get the green flag and moving to an early lead. It's Scott Brock Jr., but Jim Brewster in that orange or red number 933. Looks like he might have had some help with possibly either Josh Justice or John Wilson. Actually, it'd be one of the Toyotas. We'll figure out which Toyota there, but we had somebody on their roof.
Not so good, but Caleb Patry is going to be leading the field into the corkscrew for the first time. The T3 field looking pretty single file, pretty tame for now. But yeah, Caleb Patry really slotting into his groove pretty early, is already getting about a 4 or 5 car length lead over Kyle Robertson, with Andrew Wozencroft fighting Michael Snow for the last step on the podium.
Yeah, and so we've got from the Toyotas, it looks like a much smaller field tonight. We already have Rick Wishon, John Wilson, and Josh Justice on the pit lane after incurring some damage here early on. So it's 6 cars at the moment. And let's do this. Let's take a look. I think it sounds like Josh has got this queued up. And we'll take a look and see exactly what happened here on lap number 1.
Looks like it's double file, and then a little bit of a pinball maneuver through the middle, getting 3 wide on the exit of a corner. It's kind of bending out. Unfortunate there for sure, but it's a good thing that iRacing has an escape feature, and we didn't have an upside down car spinning like a top in the middle of the road.
Yeah, exactly. It looked like John Wilson there on the that white with blue number 82 on his roof, just as the Jettas were coming through turn 2 and heading up the hill towards him, as he, as you said, hit the eject button and took the car back to the pits. As we watch now, this is the battle for the lead in the Jettas, and it is currently Skip Brock Jr., who is sitting a little bit further down in the championship right now, sitting 9th in the championship, and Miles Crabb, who is your points leader, sitting 2nd. And then we've got Megan Overstreet in that purple 044 machine. She's sitting 3rd with Seth Spolman, our winner from a week ago, in the green number 42, right behind her. Then Trenton Kramer, your top 5. And this is likely, Morgan, how we're going to see. Now, we saw at Lime Rock a week ago, obviously the big challenge with Lime Rock is, unless somebody really flubs a corner, there are not a lot of long straights there, not a lot of opportunities to make a pass, except maybe outbreaking them going into turn 1. Because of how this track kind of meanders around, is that going to be an issue for the Jettas as well here tonight, or is it possible to to basically set them up in the draft and get them in a couple different places here?
Well, it's not a track like say Daytona, for instance, where there's really long straights that you can draft up and make a fairly cut and dry easy move. At a track like this, it's gonna take a few corners to make that move, so you really have to plan in advance and set things up corners in advance if you're gonna want to make it quick. But as soon as you go side by side, especially in the Jettas, who are a car that tends to understeer more, you're going to be side by side for 3, 4, maybe even 5 corners, and you're going to lose a ton of time. So you either have to pressure the driver in front into a mistake, or kind of just rip a Band-Aid off and send it and see if you can make it stick.
Yeah, and it looked for a moment there like Miles Crabb was going to try and do that going into the hairpin over at turn number 5. Saw a little bit of brake lockup from him, and as they now make their way over towards the corkscrew. I want to welcome a couple folks joining us here on Apex Racing TV on YouTube here in the chat. We got, of course, Brendan Kennedy, who's here with us every week. We've got John Grabowski, who's one of my directors here on Apex Racing TV. Join us all next Monday night for the Rick Motec Sports Car Series. And then, of course, we also have Stephen Blethen, who races with us here a lot in the Esports Racing League. And it looks like he just missed the grid tonight. Actually, I think missed qualifying as well. But thanks for sitting back and watching us tonight, Stephen.
Yeah, and it's good to see all of our supporters out here in the chat. But if I'm Miles Crabb right now, I'm more than happy to sit behind Skip Brock, who seems to know his way around this track. Miles does not have to win the race; he just has to finish. That he can even let Megan and Seth through and still wrap up the championship.
Yeah, and that would be, something for Miles, because I believe he wrapped up the Miata Championship. Spec Miata Championship last week at Lime Rock, so that would be 2 class championships for him here if he can keep the car on track. And as you said, he just needs to hold station. I mean, frankly, if he finishes, I think if he finishes in the top 4, he should be fine given the points advantage he had coming in. He had a 9-point advantage over Seth Spolman. Certainly, he'd want to finish ahead of Seth Spolman if he can, but I think even if he finishes 1 or 2 spots behind, he'll be okay. As we jump back over to the Toyota GR86s, and Caleb Patry, as he has done the majority of the season, now has started to work himself clear of the rest of the field. Now opening up about a 1.5 seconds on Robertson, but I think we've got a great battle going on right now for 3rd with Snow, Wozencroft, and I think Eric Yeagle as well. Josh, if we can maybe drop back in the field just a little bit. There we go. And there is Michael Snow in the 077 machine. He's got Andrew Wozencroft very closely behind, a little bit further back there now. He's fallen a couple car lengths back over the course of the last lap is Eric Yeagle with Stevie Ray not that far behind. But a good little fight for the last couple laps here between the 077 and the 80.
Yeah, and like we were talking about a couple laps before, if the number 80 is Andrew Rosencroft goes for the move on Michael Snow, both Yeagle and Ray will probably be sucked in about no time flat. So it could be very quickly a 4-car battle for the podium. But if I'm Rosencroft, I'm just going to kind of sit back here and wait, maybe push Michael Snow a little bit, try and distance myself out so I can make it a 2-car race instead of a 4-car race.
All right, as we're now 7.5 minutes into this 20-minute race here. And, and I said, it's interesting watching this particular camera angle that Josh has. I said that the corkscrew at Barber isn't anything like that multi-story drop that you have at Laguna Seca. And as you alluded to as we were watching Caleb Patrick early on, you can pretty much straight line that corkscrew. It just doesn't have the fear factor when you're behind the wheel, I don't think. I mean, it's certainly a challenge to get around, but the camera just makes that elevation seem a lot more drastic than it really is.
Yeah, it's Michael Snow's going to get crossed up and go around in the final corner, giving Wozencroft promote him up to 3rd, Yeagle to 4th, and Ray to 5th. Snow goes back down to position 6. That is I think he just got a little bit too much nose weight going into the penultimate corner, and the car snapped the other way. It's unfortunate for sure, but he will slot back into 6th and continue his race.
Yeah, and and we've talked over the course of the entire season here, Morgan, how those Toyotas, the weight transfer on them is kind of wonky. You have to be very careful. Usually it's the transfer from one side to the other, but as we saw there, it looked like he just got all the weight on the nose of the car. Maybe he was still heavy under braking when he turned the car in and just lost the rear.
Yeah, that is very possible, and it's such a prolonged corner. It's almost 2 right-hand corners that take 300 yards to complete. When you're trying to brake in the middle and you have a little bit of steering input in, you might actually end up locking a rear right wheel with ABS, and that gets very wonky. As we're going to go back and take a look right on board with Michael Snow to see what exactly happened.
All right, here they come down, coming up now to the final 2 corners. Kind of sets up wide, and Morgan, he already had the rear end stepping out on him pretty much right at the entry to the corner.
Yeah, no, he had a little bit of a slip angle through that corner, and then as soon as he got down onto the brakes, it swapped ends pretty quickly. But we're gonna go ahead and jump back to the fight for 4th in the Jetta field with Seth Spolman and Trenton Kramer. Separated out a little bit since the beginning of this lap, but Brock Crabb and Overstreet have separated themselves out by the tune of about 2 seconds, and they are, it's about holding station between all these cars. It's about a half a second in between. It's a very difficult track to follow because all of the corners, like we've been talking about all night, the corners are shaped a little strange. So you have to take a line that suits your driving style, and that may not suit somebody else. So you end up in your pack of 3 or 4 cars, you get 3 or 4 different lines through every corner.
All right, and we're watching here is this is the 174 Toyota of Piatek trying to make his way through the Jetta field. Remember, Piatek started from the pit lane here this evening, so he's been trying to work his way up through the field, and he's just now made his way through all 11 Jettas, but he's still got a long way to go before he can engage Michael Snow. Matter of fact, there's Snow just now coming down into the corkscrew.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a ways to go. I believe Piatek got caught up in a lap 1 incident, so it's good to see him not calling it quits and keep on plugging away. We'll see if he can catch Snow towards the end of this race. We're going to go ahead and jump back to 4th position in the T4 battle. It's a difficult stage of the race here. You have to kind of follow the guy in front of you because it's so hard to pass, like we've been talking about. It's following them but not getting too close so that you're not running into the back of them through corners when you're kind of not expecting him to break, but we're at that stage of the race where everybody's, they've played around with each other. They can see and get used to breaking points, turning points. So it's kind of getting into a rhythm. And you just saw how much steering angle Trenton Kramer had to put in to get this Jetta to rotate around the final corner. And that's just putting so much load on that outside front tire. And again, it's 90 degrees going up to 100 degrees of steering angles. We're seeing Seth Spolman get a little wide into turn 1, is able to gather that back up through 2, but Trenton Kramer is all over the back of him.
Yeah, so I mean, this is as we're watching our two leaders, not leaders, pardon me, 4th and 5th place drivers. As we're starting to see those outside front tires give up the ghost, and we're only 12 minutes into this 20-minute race. I mean, certainly I would think that things have to maybe be a little bit more difficult for Spolman at this point, because he has to find a way to keep Kramer behind him. Whereas Kramer can pretty much, if he wanted to, just start opening up all these corners and try to get the load off of the the front and save the car a little bit for the last couple laps.
Yeah, exactly. If the following driver can open up the arc through every corner, it's using less steering angle, which is developing less friction, which is less heat on the tire. So you end up gonna save that tire a little bit. But the defending driver, Seth Spolman, if he's gonna have to go, we're seeing Trenton Kramer have a little sniff into the chicane. Yeah, like we're saying, if Seth is gonna have to start going defensive into corners, is gonna tighten up that arc. It's gonna put more steering angle in, more friction, more heat, and he's gonna end up chewing up that tire a little bit faster.
Yeah, and you can even see there, Morgan, as they go into the final corners into turns 15 and 16, how even by and maybe it's intentional, maybe it's not intentional, but you can see there that Spolman is maybe cheating over a quarter of a car width to a half a car width to a lot of these corners, and that can definitely build a lot more heat and put a lot more load on those front wheels. Whereas Kramer, you can see here, he just uses as much of the track and as much of the curbing as he can to open up those arcs.
Yeah, and that's the other point that I was going to talk about at some point here tonight. Using the curbs, is they are pretty flat, but if you can get up on them, they'll actually help you rotate around the corner. As we're going to jump back to the lead group here with Brock, Crab, and Overstreet. Nothing has really changed, although Crab is all over the back of Skip Brock. Skip not really fading, as looks like a good battle up the road between Piatek and Snow. Piatek has been able to catch him, so they're going to go side by side through the chicane, flat out from both drivers, climbing up all over those curbs. A little bit of side by side contact. Snow goes off driver's left, but it looks like Piatek gave the spot back to Snow. Snow slots back into the lead, but definitely a big battle here between these two drivers.
All right, and we'll see if they end up re-engaging here. Looks like Piatek, as he slotted in back behind Snow, still carrying a little bit more speed through the tunnel turn there and through the final corners. Wow. Piatek having some issues on that final curbing there on the final corner.
Yeah, dropped a tire just over that. The car is so loaded up. If you suddenly take away all the grip on that outside tire, you're going for a ride. But he did a very, very good job to save that car and not end up in the pit wall.
Yeah, I was going to say that is we see that type of move, and as Piatek runs a little wide there as well, certainly if you drop your wheel on that exit curbing there, you'll just, in many cases, just shoot right back across the track and into the pit wall. Kind of reminds us of our home track, but also coming onto the Ullman Straight at Sebring as well. Just one of those very common issues that a driver will have. As now in the battle for the lead here, Miles Crab looking to the inside of Skip Brock Jr. Skip Brock Jr. is able to hold him off as they come down into the corkscrew, turn 7, 8, and 9. Megan Overstreet for a moment there, able to close things down just a little bit, and I think now Miles Crab probably is going to have to worry a little bit more about the 044 behind him.
Yeah, and it does seem like for now Miles Crab he's playing it safe. He's not really taking any risks. It looked to me like he he kind of gave the spot back to Skip. He didn't have the overlap. He didn't want to force going side by side through the corkscrew. So he's kind of rolling over at this point. But when Miles and Skip go single file and they're kind of just driving, it looks like they have a little bit of a pace advantage over Megan. So I think Miles is going over the radios and telling Skip, let's just go. I won't pass you. Work together. Try and build a little bit of a gap so that, you know, when it comes to the last lap, we can. Oh, I say that. But Miles Crab looks to the inside, going into turn 1. Skip around the outside. Miles is on the disadvantaged line. Megan is going to try and pick a driver to follow. Is she going to be able to sneak up the inside? No. Miles Crab slots back into second behind Skip Brock, coming over the crest of the hill and up into turn number 4. But looking back at Piatek versus Snow, Snow goes defensive down to the inside. Piatek making a wide arc through the corner, going to try and build a run off the exit. Gets pretty equal, but yeah, Piatek struggling a little bit with corner exit oversteer. So he carries a lot of mid-corner speed, gets a lot of apex, but can't keep the rear of it under him on the exit.
All right, so in that battle for the lead in the Piatek maybe giving a bit of the chrome horn to Snow as they come down through the corkscrew. I was going to say, and looking at that battle between Brock Crab and Overstreet, I think you're right. Overstreet doesn't seem to have the pace that the top 2 drivers do. When Crab took that look to the inside on Skip Brock going down into turn 1, though, I think Overstreet might have had an opportunity to stick the car down to the apex curbing and and running out of grip and running around for the second time tonight. That was that was Snow. And
Piatek looks to be waiting for him. He's going to take a trip through the grass and escapes back into the pit lane. Unfortunate incident there. It looked like Piatek went to the inside into the chicane and then tried the crossover, but Snow covered it off. Unfortunate incident there for sure, but yeah, Piatek back to the pits. Michael into 6th again.
All right, let's take a look, and I think maybe another view of that incident would be helpful. It's I think we've got it queued up here. And so right in the same sequence, in the same place that they had issues on a couple laps earlier.
Yeah, it looked like Piatek hopped over that curb. We're going to try and set up the over-under. We're going to take another look at it from another camera angle. Going side by side into the chicane, Piatek's going to hop over that curb, get real bouncy, keeps it under him. Going to go for that over-under. A little bit of a touch at the apex. Snow looks like he tried to cover it off. A little bit of a nudge sends Snow into the wall there. Piatek slowing down. I think he felt a little bit to blame for that incident.
Yeah, so ended up taking the car over to the pits there, and looks like Piatek's night is now done. All right, so only 30 seconds remain on the clock, and Caleb Patry, I believe, has just started his last lap here as we watch. Let's jump back to that battle with the Jettas up ahead, because we're going to have at least one more lap for them as they're going to come into the final corners here, and they're actually coming up onto the back of the Snow car, coming onto the front straight, and Crab is dropped back just a little bit, and you see there Michael Snow pulling over drivers right, giving our Jetta leaders all the room they need to start their final lap as the white flag is in the air. But they have now they've now stretched out just a little bit. But again, you know, this is not a race that Miles Crab needs to win in order to take the championship. He just needs to finish ahead of Seth Spolman, who's sitting back and forth.
Yeah, and I think Miles Crab won't really go for the move unless Skip, throws it off the road or is presented with a golden opportunity. I think they're just going to stay single file. I think Miles is going to try and get as close to Skip as he can to avoid an attack from Megan behind. But Skip running a little wide, but is able to carry a lot of exit speed and get a better run than Miles out of the hairpin and down the straight into the corkscrew. Miles not really close enough to do anything, about sitting 3/10 back, car length and a half, the accordion effect into the corkscrew. But Caleb Patcher is going to cross the line and win in commanding fashion our first race of the evening by the tune of about 8 seconds, as he's going to take a bouncy ride into turn 1. We're going to head back and take a look at the Jetta leaders as Skip Brock Jr. is still leading Miles Crab and Megan Overstreet. Looks like Snow is just going to be sitting in behind. Let the Jettas have their fight as Skip goes a little slide at the apex of that corner coming into the final three. Going to go defensive down to the inside, kind of block off that move from Miles Crab. Crab sucks right up back to the rear bumper of Skip Rock Jr. Skip coming through the final corner. Crab pretty close, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to carry the run. Drops 2 on the exit. Skip Rock Jr. is going to be your winner in the Touring 4 class, followed by Miles Crab and Megan Overstreet.
There you go. It goes from flag to flag. Congratulations to Skip Rock Jr. And yeah, Morgan, that the checkered flag there and the flag stand only about a third of the way down the front straight there. It's pretty hard to get a draft and slingshot past somebody there to take the win. So it is Patry, then Robertson, then Wozencroft, your top 3 in the Toyotas, and then it is Brock, Crab, and Overstreet, your top 3 in the Jettas. And lo and behold, we already have. Well, we've got an Andrew Wozencroft sitting in the green room, but I know in this race here, Morgan, unfortunately, we're only going to be able to take in 2 drivers for interviews before we break for our last race of the regular season. And let's do this as we wait. Let's see, we've got Robertson who's just come in, and we've got both of our second place finishers. We'll give it one more second here to see if either Patry comes in. Of course, Patry will probably think that I'm going to jinx him for the final race, or if Skip Brock Jr. comes in. If not, we'll bring in Miles Crab, who comes away with another class championship here. And actually, let's do that. Why don't we bring in Miles Crab, finishing second tonight in the Volkswagen Jettas and taking the class championship, his second of the season.
Good evening, Miles. First of all, congratulations on your second class championship, a championship in the Jetta. It looked to me like you were kind of just biding your time, waiting, not really taking too many risks. Walk us through your race tonight.
You observed correctly. Unfortunately, right before the race started, iRacing and AT&T decided that basically all of the Jettas needed to have about 700 ping between each other. So it was kind of Skip would start braking and the lights wouldn't come on for about a full second. So it was kind of interesting driving around. But yes, exactly as you described. I tried to drive a perfect race, have a clean race, and unfortunately I got into the back of Skip, so I ended up with 4X. But otherwise, went exactly as I wanted. Got a podium, I think that's pretty much all I needed, and walked away with the championship. Now we got to qualify in Spec Racer, see if I can win this one too.
Well, there you go. I will not hold you for too long. Congratulations again on your championship, and good luck in qualifying for the Spec Racer.
Thank you. I need it, especially if my ping is going to be 700.
Yeah, let's hope that irons itself out so we don't have any wonky netcode incidents.
Exactly. All right, there you go. That is Miles Crab, finishing second tonight in the Jettas, but taking the class championship here.
I guess feel-wise.
I guess, yeah.
Because we've got both Skip Brock Jr. and we've got Caleb Patry, our 2 class winners, sitting in the green room. Let's quickly talk to Skip, and then we'll move on to Caleb, and then we'll get ready for Spec Racer Ford.
Good evening, Skip. You walked away with the class victory in Touring 4, so big congratulations to you there. It looked like you just led this race from flag to flag. Did you feel really confident in your pace and just kind of wanted to go out and lead?
I definitely felt confident in my pace. That's why I tried to take the lead as quickly as possible at the beginning. I know it's so hard to pass here that I knew I at least had the pace to keep people behind me, and that ended up being true. Miles got one chance at me into 5, and I braked a little early because I was driving in my mirrors, and he bumped into me. It was really my fault. I braked at like the 2 when I should be braking at the 1.5. But yeah, I mean, I felt good about the pace, but then once I was up front, I was really pushing. I mean, I did not feel so confident once I had that bumper on my rear mirror the whole race. That was pretty tough.
Well, regardless of that, you did a very good job withstanding the pressure that Miles was putting on, and walked away with the victory. Very good pace. Were we going to see you in the Spec Racer Ford event?
Yeah, I'm going to hop in. I don't have any practice, and qualifying's already started, so I'm just going to hop in and see what I can do. But yeah, I'm going to try.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, but before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Oh yeah, I think OPM Motosports, who I've been racing with for a decade now in Spec Miata, with Tom Fowler. My dad, who's my crew chief in real life, and he watches all the races and texts me during the races, the virtual races. So yeah, the two of them especially. Both my parents might be watching even. So yeah, thanks to them.
Well, hello to Skip Brock Sr. and Mrs. Skip. Good to see that you guys are watching, and good luck to you, Skip Brock Jr. in your Spec Racer Ford event.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, let's finally and very quickly, because I'm sure he wants to jump into qualifying, let's just hear some quick thoughts from Caleb Patry, our winner tonight in the Toyota GR86 Cup cars.
Evening, Caleb. I'll keep this short and sweet. It looked like another extremely dominant performance from you. You kind of led this race from flag to flag. Were you just struggling to stay consistent, or how were you so consistent and just fast all night long?
I mean, I was trying to stay consistent. You know, here there's a couple of really off-camber corners that have huge bumps, and this car doesn't really like off-camber corners with huge curbs, so it was a bit of a challenge trying to keep it underneath me. I did try a different setup that I kind of had in my arsenal just last race of the season and see what I can do. Tried it, and I mean, it worked. I liked how it drove, but it was also pretty darn loose, so it was a bit of a challenge to keep it underneath me, but I just knew, as always, consistency is key, especially here.
And that seemed to work out very well for you. You did not seem to be alone with struggling with a lot of oversteer. We saw a lot of drivers struggling with a lot of snaps in the middle of corners. So again, congratulations to another dominant flag to flag victory. And will we be seeing you in the Spec Racer Ford race?
I was debating, but now I think I will, just for fun.
Awesome. Well, we wish you the best of luck, and hopefully no jinx this week. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm staying quiet on this one.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's all my
So
fault.
best of luck to you, Caleb. No jinx this time, and have some fun.
Yes, thank you guys.
All right, everybody, that's Caleb Patry, your winner tonight. And I think at this point, we mentioned Miles Crabb taking the class championship. Well, Caleb Patry pretty easily taking the class championship in the GR86 Cup cars tonight. Congratulations to him on the championship. Morgan, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we will have our final race of the regular season here at Barber Motorsports Park. That's going to be Spec Racer Ford. You're watching the Ray Sports Racing League, and we'll be right back.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
and welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park, where you are watching the final week of the regular season here, season number 10 of the Ray Esports Racing League. I'm Greg Ginsburg, along with Morgan Burkhardt, and got Josh Wilkie here from Apex Racing TV, bringing you all the great views of tonight's action. And Morgan, after our touring car race, it is just one more race here for the regular season, and it is Spec Racer Ford. And at the moment, Miles Crabb, who we just finished talking to, he's your provisional pole sitter with only 3 flying laps in the books and about 8 minutes of this 15-minute qualifying session complete. But he is your provisional pole sitter for Spec Racer Ford at the moment, with John Vogel and Megan Overstreet making up your top 3. Stevie Ray currently sitting 4th. And so let's quickly here, as we want to pick up some more of this qualifying action, take a look. As we mentioned, Spec Miata wrapped up last week at Lime Rock Park, and Miles Crabb ended up with the championship. He did not come away with the win, however. Caleb Patry took the win at Lime Rock, with Giancarlo Schooler finishing 2nd, Josh Soto 3rd. Miles Crabb was only able to finish 4th in that race, with Megan Overstreet finishing in 5th. And there are the final standings in Spec Miata. You can see there Miles Crabb with a 5-point gap back to Megan Overstreet, who finishes 2nd in the championship. Lewis Lockshine finishing 3rd, with Trenton Kramer beating out Josh Justice by 2 points to make up your top 5, but really, really close all the way through the season there. Let's take a look at Spec Racer Ford. The last time Spec Racer Ford raced was 2 weeks ago at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta, and Miles Crabb, he took the win, with Olivier Piatek finishing in 2nd, Megan Overstreet 3rd, Ethan O-Ring Murphy Nichols rounding out the top 5. And coming into the final night of racing, look whose race it is to lose. Miles Crabb with 104 points. He's got 11 points on Megan Overstreet, and then quite a bit more, I think 25 points, then back to Josh Justice, who's sitting 3rd in the championship. Justice, a real-life Spec Racer Ford racer, and then Ethan O-Ring with 59, and then well, John Vogel and Morgan Burkhardt, that guy, are tied currently for 5th in the championship. But you know, if Crabb can finish well tonight, and you know, again, he doesn't have the largest advantage, but he's got some options within an 11-point buffer right now to Megan Overstreet. You know, he doesn't have to necessarily finish ahead of Megan Overstreet, who's currently your 4th fastest driver here in qualifying, but that would be 3 out of 4 championships this season for Miles Crabb.
And that is an impressive feat, to say the least, to win in every class that you compete in. I don't even know if that's been done in Ray Esports history.
At this point, am I supposed to say I think Morgan Burkhardt did it one season? I think Beans Forster might have done it one season. It's been now 10 seasons, and I'm getting old, and my long-term memory is really quite miserable here, so I can't tell you for sure. But I think we might have at least picked 2 at the time. We were running early on. We were running just 3 different classes, and I think we may have had 1 or 2 people sweep a season, if not at least get 2 out of the 3 classes.
That sounds about right. I think. Nonetheless, Miles Crabb, if he's able to continue his strong form tonight, it's a very impressive feat, and it looks to be that he's got a pretty good hand on it right now. I don't want to jinx anything, so knocking on wood. But Miles Crabb is your provisional pole sitter by about 2/10 over John Vogel. Caleb Patry, who done no practice, is able to slot into the 3rd, as we are watching him right now. Piatek into the 4th spot. Megan Overstreet, your championship rival, is in the 5th spot with about a 6/10 gap to the Miles Crabb.
And I should mention that as I was going back through the YouTube chat, Stephen Blethen, who had shown up late for the Spec Miata race, or probably not Spec Miata, but for the Jetta race just a little while ago. He had said that he was going to embarrass himself in Spec Racer Ford tonight. Well, Stephen Blethen, he is currently I'd like to call him 12th fastest, but he has not put in a valid lap as of yet. He's out there trying though. He's only got one flying lap that he's attempted so far, so he's got plenty of time to work on it. But looks to be we've got about a 15 car field here tonight, and I want to welcome back Simon Fellwether. I think it's been a couple seasons since he's been running with us as we watch Caleb Patry, and you know, Patry said his Toyota was awfully loose. Morgan, I'm watching him drive this Jetta. He's got a lot of slip angle through some of these corners.
Yeah, no, the mid-engine characteristics, he's going to go second fastest, split the difference between Crab and Vogel's, a 10th off the pole sitter. But yeah, you got a whole lot of slip angle through corners. It's a mid-engine car, almost rear engine. Actually, the engine is part of the rear axle. So if you get on the brakes and you're kind of trailing through a corner, it's going to become a pendulum.
Yeah, it's gonna step out on you. There we go. Looking at Simon Fellwether here from the UK, driving the number 97 machine, currently 11th fastest with he's got 2 flying laps in the books currently. We're still watching to see if Stephen Blethen, Joaquin Effinger, or Kyle Robertson can put in a lap here. Robertson, you know, who we saw him start on the outside of the front row just a little while ago in the Toyotas. He's had 3 attempts to set a lap here, Morgan, and it looks like he's just gone around again and still has not managed to put in a lap time here, as there's only a minute left in qualifying. Don't know if he's going to be able to do it.
Yeah, I don't think resetting to the pits, I don't think he's going to be able to get around in enough time to be able to complete a flying lap. That's why we were talking. Vogel then splits the difference between Patry and Crab and goes up into the second spot.
So there you go. There's the number 4 spec racer Ford, John Vogel, now moving up to the front row provisionally, as there's 20 seconds remaining here on the clock, and only about a 10th of a second, actually 1300ths of a second, separating Miles Crab and John Vogel here now, as we check in with Stevie Ray, driving the number 11 machine. That's the Ray in Ray Esports Racing. He is currently your 7th fastest driver with a provisional time of 1:35.57 that he is trying to improve upon. And if he wants to move up one more row, he doesn't have to do much more. Skip Brock Jr. only about 200ths of a second faster, but checkered flag is in the air. Last flying laps will count as Megan Overstreet takes the checkered flag. She does not improve upon her 1:34.95. The best that she is going to do is 5th position here on the start from the inside of lap number 3. But we'll see here if she can hold that position, as we're now watching John Vogel trying on what will be his last attempt here to improve upon the 1:34.331, and see if he can move up to the front row. As he crosses the line, he does not improve, puts in a 1:35.8, so he will likely be starting on the outside of row number 1.
That, honestly, I would I'd rather be 3rd. I wouldn't want to be on the front row, just because of how turn 1 and turn 2 is shaped. You will probably end up losing the spot unless you get a monster jump off the green.
All right, we just saw Stevie Ray call off his last flying lap. Best he can do is 7th. Megan Overstreet, again, I believe she had already taken the checkered flag, so I don't believe this 9th flying lap is going to count, but we'll take a look at the timing and scoring system here and see if it counts. Again, she's trying to improve upon a 1:34.95. And no, I don't believe it's going to record that final lap. So yeah, indeed, she had taken the checkered flag a lap earlier.
Yeah, I think she's just going around for a little bit of extra practice, swapping over from the end of our T3, T4 race. Drivers are coming literally into about 2 minutes into qualifying, depending on how fast your internet is. So yeah, just getting a little bit of extra practice as we're seeing Josh Justice going bouncing through the corkscrew right before we head to the grid.
doing some of that Appalachian drifting that I was talking about earlier. As he had the rear end of that car all hung out to dry there. All right, we've got our Spec Racer Fords lining up. Should be 15 of them if they all take the grid. Let's take a look at the starting order. And there is smack in the YouTube chat with Ray Blethyn, twin brother to Steven, saying if he wasn't traveling, he would be ahead of him. Very nice. All right, let's take a look at our starting order tonight. On the pole tonight with a qualifying time of 1:34.275. It is Miles Crabb with John Vogel starting on the outside of the front row in that black number 4 machine. Caleb Patry, our Toyota winner from race number 1. He'll start right behind our other race winner, Miles Crabb. Patry will start 3rd. Olivier Piatek will start 4th tonight with Megan Overstreet starting on the inside of row number 3 and 5th. Skip Brock Jr., actually, no, that's right. Crabb was not our race winner in the Jettas. It was Skip Brock Jr. Skip Brock Jr. starting on the outside of row number 3, starting 6th tonight in the number 68 machine. Then we've got Stevie Ray starting 7th with Trenton Kramer 8th. Andrew Lozencroft and Josh Justice will make up row number 5. And then we've got Simon Foulweather and Wayne Buttermore starting 11th and 12th. And then we'll see, do we have anybody else showing? I think we've got Joaquin Effinger and Stephen Blethyn, who did not set times tonight as well. Yeah, no worries. It's actually Kyle Robertson, 13th, and then Joaquin Effinger, who's scheduled to start, at least, if not right beside him, right behind Wayne Buttermore. And then Stephen Blethyn, he's going to play tail end Charlie tonight in Birmingham. He's going to start 15th at the tail of the field in Spec Racer Ford.
And now I'm really excited to see how this race pans out, because the draft in this car is so powerful, and we didn't see a whole lot of drivers, we didn't see many people really messing with the draft and qualifying, so that kind of looks like just natural pace, but if you're within a second of the pole sitter, you can be kept in the race because of the draft. So we'll see how big of a pack this is. We'll see how many people can keep with each other after the first lap and after these tires get up to temperature.
All right, as the drivers now coming in and sliding in behind the pace cars, they came out of the corkscrew and start to make that run, make the run down over towards the S's at turns 10 and 11. And we did see there both Skip Brock Jr. as well as Josh Justice scrubbing tires in, moving those cars back and forth to the left and to the right pretty aggressively. And now we see Trenton Kramer in the 444 machine doing so as well, thinking they might have an advantage there coming in through the first couple of corners. We'll see here as the pace car now bringing the field now over through the tunnel, turning up into the final corners. Morgan, as they are getting ready to come around, should mention, as you had earlier, Grass Paddock Motorsports Sim to Track initiative, where we will be giving away at the end of the calendar year a free arrive and drive package for a licensed racer, as well as for a non-licensed racer, for that licensed racer to compete in a B-Spec Mini Cooper, and for a non-licensed racer to earn their competition license. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment, as the pace car is on the pit lane, turning the field over to Miles Crabb, and green flag is in the air. And we saw John Vogel had already pulled, and maybe even nosed up just a little bit on Miles Crabb as they came down the front straight. And as they head up the hill, the black number 4, he's going to edge ahead of our pole sitter, as is Olivier Piatek in the 174 machine. And running wide, Caleb Patry into the grass, but it doesn't seem to affect him all that much as he comes over the crest of turn number 3, and they start to make their way down to the hairpin here for the very first time. Vogel holding off Piatek, although Piatek very late on the brakes to the inside there. He had a great move coming into the hairpin, Morgan.
Yeah, cheating down to the inside. We're still double file for about 4 rows. As Piatek to the outside, Vogel to the inside, Caleb to the outside of Miles Crabb. Gonna go side by side. Ooh, Piatek and Vogel make contact going through the first part of the corkscrew. Patry on the outside of Crabb will take the lead, but Vogel and Piatek shuffled back to the rear end of the pack. It's a shame there, but it kind of looked like 2-1 really just didn't work.
Yeah, it did not work there at all for either of them, and they're going to have a very tough battle here in this short 20-minute sprint race. That's going to move Caleb Patry. It's a good thing I didn't say anything. Caleb Patry is your leader. Miles Crabbe second. Skip Brock Jr. in that melee managed to get around Megan Overstreet, so Overstreet drops from third back into fourth, and then we've got Trent Kramer and Josh Justice, and we'll see how Patry does with a loose spec racer Ford here, as lap 1 is now in the books, and the top top 6 all in very close proximity. Then we've got Stevie Ray in the second pack, and he's got Olivier Piatek directly behind, and we had Simon Foulweather go wide through turn 1, and he comes back up across, and who did he collect? Was that Wayne Buttermore that he collected, I think, possibly, Morgan?
I believe so, yeah. Wayne Buttermore and Foulweather definitely getting together going through turn number 2. But Crabbe will be going back to the lead, or not back to the lead, going to the lead for the first time, as Caleb Patry slots back into second, Megan Overstreet into third, Brock and Kramer fourth, fifth, Justice still in that little pack into sixth, and a little bit of a split starting to form after our top 6 cars.
Hey, Josh, is it possible to go back and see that incident between Piatek and Vogel going into the corkscrew on lap 1? All right, excellent, and we'll see if we can pick up and see exactly what happened to our leader at the time, and here they come with Vogel to the right, and just the slightest of contact there as the car is unloaded and put it both around, Morgan.
Yeah, it looks a little bit unfortunate. It's one of those kind of racing things where you get 2 cars that are all like loaded up as much as the tire will allow, and you make a little bit of a rub, it suddenly changes those trajectories, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it.
No, indeed, as lap 2 is now in the books, and Miles Crabbe, our pole sitter, back to the lead, as you mentioned, Morgan. Caleb Patry second. Megan Overstreet just ran the fastest lap of the race, of course, with only 2 laps. It's kind of a small sample size. She got back around Skip Brock Jr., so move the 68 machine of Brock back into 4th position. And then we see the 2 blue machines side by side, Justice and Kramer battling it out for 5th, going into the hairpin.
Justice
easy
like
for me to say this late at night.
Yeah, I'm just stumbling a little bit there, but it's all right. As Justice looked to go around, I believe, the outside of Kramer, get that move done, but a little bit of a breakaway now. It looked like Skip had a little bit of an issue going through that hairpin. It's now about 1.5 seconds between Megan Overstreet and Skip Brock Jr. So a 3-car pack and a 3-car breakaway for the lead, as we're seeing Caleb Patry jump all over those curbs, keep that car pinned and get the rotation that he needs.
Yeah, and you know, Patry did not get a good run through the second portion of the corkscrew there, and I think Overstreet had some designs on going around the outside, and there's no way to put down enough power, I think, there, you know, to make that work. But you know, you talked about the strong effect of the draft, as Patry was able to still be able to get the 198 machine tucked right back underneath the 131.
Yeah, but it does seem like Caleb Patry is going to be pushing Miles Crabbe. Megan Overstreet just kind of sitting back behind, benefiting from the draft. But Piatek has worked his way back up into 7th already, right behind our battle for 4th with Kramer, Justice, and Brock. So we will see what he can do with the pace that he's got. Jumping back to that lead pack, it does seem like Caleb Patry, at least for now, is kind of content to just sit behind Miles. Miles seems to have a little bit of a pace advantage. Made a really good move to the lead and really hasn't looked back since. But we'll have to see what Megan Overstreet wants to do. If she's in this for a championship, she's got to, you know, at least finish in front of Miles Crabbe. We're looking back for side by side again through the corkscrew. Brock, and a little bit of contact between Brock and Justice at the apex of the corkscrew. All is good. Josh Justice reclaims that spot, or doesn't reclaim it, stays in the, or, no, actually does reclaim it.
He moves up to 4th now, and Trent Kramer gets around Skip Brock Jr. as well. So Skip Brock dropping back to 6th position, and Piatek, Skip Rock Jr.'s teammate, OPM teammate in real life there, took a little look to driver's left. Coming out of the corkscrew, couldn't seem to make up the ground. We'll see what happens here, but Skip Rock going the wrong direction at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things in these momentum cars. If you get offline a little bit, if you get shuffled wide, then definitely get offline a little bit, bouncing through the grass, able to keep his foot in it and keep it going. Piatek's got a good run on him, not getting to him close enough before the corner. He's just going off again, going through turn number 1, getting those dirty tires. Did not get enough grip going through turn 1, is able to hold the inside for 2 and 3. Piatek has to stay behind, can't really do anything around the outside, but he's got a good run. He's going to be cheating to the inside, going into the hairpin. We'll see who is the latest of the breakers. Looks like Brock really deep on the brakes, almost able to cut across into the hairpin. Thinks better of it, has to turn out a little bit. Still on the outside, still side by side. Now Stevie Ray right behind. Who do you go with? Who do I pick to push? Is Skip Rock Jr. losing more spots? He might even lose another one to Stevie Ray on the inside.
Oh, where is Stevie Ray? There is Stevie Ray. Oh, yeah, I had a feeling that was going to happen when we switched over and we were watching Skip Rock move all the way to that curbing at driver's off. And I go, oh wait, that's where Stevie Ray is. That's going to be a problem. And Piatek gets by, but that is going to bring Skip Rock Jr. and Stevie Ray into the pits for likely an early end of their race.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and take a replay, see exactly what happened between Brock and Ray. Coming into the corkscrew, the entry, Stevie Ray to the outside, still side by side on entry. Stevie Ray gets a little too much brake pressure, and then I mean the contour of the track, the way the track is shaped there does not really
it really doesn't give you an easy way to recover the car when the rear end starts swinging around like that. So that's unfortunate. So there wasn't any contact there. But Stevie Ray lost the back. I should mention, though, Piatek there had a wonderful run out of the hairpin, Morgan. He kept the car all the way to the inside on that inside curbing and just got such a better run than Skip Brock did. Then, he was able to stay clear of that entire incident. As we jump back to the battle for the lead, where it's Miles Crabb and Caleb Patry. And Morgan, we're still not even halfway here. Megan Overstreet, we talked earlier that it didn't look like she had the pace of that Crabb and Patry had, and she has dropped back a couple of car lengths, but she's still within striking distance here.
Yeah, but we see Caleb is literally pushing Miles around this track, even through some of the corners. It's going to be very difficult for Megan to catch them, as they're actually going, at the same speed as Megan. So she's not really benefiting a whole lot from the draft. But the one thing that is working in her favor is the accordion effect into corners. Is Caleb's going to have to back off of Miles's, for lack of a better term, rear bumper going into corners, and so he doesn't, send him to Narnia. But yeah, Megan is gonna be she's gonna gain a lot on entry to the corner, but she's because
holy crap, I had to go back to junior high for that one. That's like a reference there.
There you go.
A little Lion Witch and Wardrobe stuff for us there. All right, so oh my gosh. Yeah, and on that last lap, Megan was actually the fastest of the three, and on the previous lap she had reset fast lap there, so she is actually keeping and she's just kind of got some whiffs of the draft there. She's about 0.8 of a second off in most cases there. That's keeping her in the fight. She just hasn't been able to close things down all that much on the leaders. That gap has stayed pretty consistent the last 3 laps.
Yeah, it seems as though she's kind of maintaining. Miles and Caleb are also maintaining that gap. But if I were in Megan's shoes right now and I get a chance to take a swipe at Caleb, I'm going to take it, hands down.
Yeah.
I'll take a few risks because, I'm guaranteed to finish second. Miles is guaranteed to finish second at least. So, you have to kind of make a run for it. See if you can shuffle Miles back to third, maybe even fourth. Really just hold this pack up, make Miles go as far back as you can without, hurting him and, going after and swiping at him, obviously. But if Megan gets a opportunity to go to the front, go maybe even into second place, she's got to take it.
No, yeah, she does, and and Miles has to have a very different mindset than what he had in the Jetta race. When we were talking to him as he was sitting behind Skip Brock Jr., he was very content where he was in second. He wasn't going to push the issue. He knew what the stakes were. He doesn't know what Caleb Patry is going to be trying to do from behind him. And Patry isn't just going to sit there passively for the remainder of the race. I'm sure he wants to take the win, and obviously Megan Overstreet, it means a lot for her if she can get around Crab as well. So I mean, it's got to be I'll bet you the blood pressure is maybe a couple beats higher in this race for Crab than it was maybe 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, it definitely is. And even if Megan wasn't a part of this equation, he's still got Caleb hounding in pretty much every corner. Yeah. Caleb has not left the rear of Miles pretty much the whole race. So, he's got a different kind of driving style that he's got to adapt to in this event. We're going to see how long does Caleb want to wait, because he's not really, in this for a championship. He's not fighting for the win. He's kind of out here to have fun. Like he said in his interview, he's going to, go have some fun, maybe mess around a little bit. We'll see how long is he going to be patient. How is he going to let Megan through? Is he going to play the championship game? Or, that's another thing that Miles is going to have to think about is not only juggling defending against him, but what is he going to do?
Right, exactly.
But yeah, it seems right now that Caleb is a little bit of oversteer, the middle part of that corner. He's been struggling with that, as looks as like he's been struggling with that a lot all night long. But gonna jump back here to the battle for fourth. Piatek all over Josh Justice. He's been able to dispatch Trenton Kramer a few laps ago, but Piatek get a really good run into turn one. Joshua Justice to the outside into turn one. Piatek to the inside, gonna get on that curb. Justice still down to the inside into turn two. Going to be able to keep a little bit of side-to-side contact in the entry of the corner, but both of them are still going. So Justice will hang on to fourth for now. Piatek, another really good run coming up that hill. He's going to look to the outside into the hairpin. Justice goes defensive. Piatek breaks a little bit deeper. He's going to try and set up an over-under. Justice blocks it off pretty nicely, though. Piatek has to back off a little bit.
Yeah, and Morgan, you notice there as they came out of four and started to make the run down to the hairpin, Piatek, as he's done all race long, he took that look to the inside on Justice. Trenton Kramer has a bit of a challenge there going into the corkscrew. You know what, Piatek, he took that quick look to the inside, and Josh Justice, as if he'd seen that move before, went and covered him almost immediately. But now it doesn't really matter as Piatek manages to get around the 99 machine. So Piatek now back up into fourth. Yeah, and he's shown some pretty good pace, some pretty good racecraft as well. See if Justice can hang on to Piatek, maybe force the error, or force the issue, maybe force an error, and maybe get back into fourth position in here. He seems to be able to kind of hold there, and if Piatek makes a mistake like that, Justice is right there. All right, so we have just a little bit over 5 minutes remaining in our final race of season number 10, our final regular season race of season number 10. But we're not going to be done yet. There is more action next week. You want to join Morgan and me from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course at a special time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, for the Ray Esports runoffs. We're going to have each of our 4 classes. We're going to have our 2 touring car classes, as well as Spec Miata and our Spec Racer Ford racers battling it out for end-of-season glory in a winner-take-all event here on Apex Racing TV. Again, that's next Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't want to miss it.
And as we're definitely don't want to miss that one, but jumping back to the lead pack for the Spec Racer Ford race tonight, Caleb Patry's fallen back to about 8 or 9 tenths behind Miles. I'm wondering if he's had a little bit of an issue, maybe through that second to last corner where we saw he was struggling a little bit with the oversteer. But Miles Crab is a very comfortable lead, maybe he's able to kind of maintain this for the last 4 or 5 minutes. Probably around 3, maybe 4 laps to go as we're coming up on a little bit of lapped traffic.
Yeah, as we have him coming up on, I believe that is Wayne Buttermore directly ahead in the number 73 machine. But yeah, this is, we talked about Miles Crabbe and his elevated blood pressure and having to concern himself with what Caleb Patry was going to do and what methods of attack he was going to use, and that may not be as much of a concern now, as we've got about 3 laps remaining here.
Yeah, and both Caleb and Megan get through on Wayne Buttermore. Very good job, very heads-up driving from him to let all of our leaders through. But Caleb Patry, he's already caught up about 2 or 3 tenths of a second on Miles Crabbe. That draft is working very well. Megan Overstreet about 1 second back from Caleb. So this is the point where if Caleb can get back up to Miles Crabbe, Caleb's in a very good draft right now. This is about where you'd want to be for a qualifying lap. Megan is kind of on the fringes here, just bouncing over those curves, making sure to keep it pinned. But Caleb is really, really reeling in Miles Crabbe. And as he's doing that, Megan is falling further and further out of the draft.
Yeah, and so maybe it was an issue or a question of Patry trying to just get the tires back underneath them, give them a lap or so to cool down a little bit without necessarily losing touch of Crabbe in there. If we see there, Patry now closed up, I think another 2 car lengths or so, and as they come onto the front straight, he is definitely within shooting distance, certainly within the draft, only about 35 hundredths of a second back, about 2.5 car lengths back as they head up the hill here to start lap number 12. And again, with these laps running right around the 1.5-minute mark, Morgan, we should have this lap and one more.
Yep, I think it'll come down to the wire here, as Caleb is, for all practical purposes, he's there. So we'll see where and when he plans to make this move. We haven't really seen them fight at all race long. If anything, Miles is the one who showed his hand. So Caleb is a bit of an unknown quantity, but they've got a gap to about the tune of 1.8, 1.9 seconds over Megan Overstreet. So if they just kind of stay line and stern for the next lap or so and wait until the final few corners to duke it out, Megan may not even be a variable in the
yeah, it sounds like she may not be a factor at this point. The last 2 laps, she's dropped off considerably. I think a little bit of it was that late move trying to get around Buttermore going into the hairpin, but even since then, that last time by, she was almost 8 tenths of a second off of Patry's pace.
Yeah, no, Patry, like I said, he had like the qualifying draft distance where you'd want to be, so he picked up a very, very good tow as Megan was just kind of falling out of that. Just didn't really have the same amount of speed as Caleb did, not really positioned in the same way as Miles, having to lift a lot on exit, getting a lot of understeer through there. So we'll see, does Caleb want to go for it? Is he going to sit behind? He's going to go for it. Down the inside goes Caleb Patry. Miles is going to kind of let that happen, doesn't really need to risk it. He's still ahead of Megan Overstreet, so Caleb Patry up to the lead with the should be white flag in the air.
Yep, absolutely. We are working the last lap here from Barber as Patry runs a little bit wide, and he's done that a couple of times here, Morgan, running off into the grass coming out of turn 2. It doesn't seem to affect the exit speed all that much, although he's going to have to defend against Crabbe as they come through the hairpin, as the big spiders there in the background. I hate spiders, but we'll see here at least for the moment now with only about 2/3 of a lap remaining. Caleb Patry is your leader.
Yeah, and from here on out, there's not a whole lot of really good passing opportunities. If Miles wants to do this, he's gonna have to get extracurricular with it and hope for Caleb to be making a mistake. He took a 1x there to make sure he could get a run into the chicane, but I don't think he's gonna get a good enough run. Peeks to the inside to maybe try and get in Caleb's head. Caleb not really phased by it, gets a pretty good run out of the final few corners.
And I guess here you maybe try to push the car underneath, but Patry goes to defend and blocks that plan of attack off from Crabbe. Crabbe's now going to try and go side by side with Patry through the final corner. Patry carries much more speed on exit and coming across the line, taking the win tonight in Spec Racer Ford. It's going to be Caleb Patry. Margin of victory about 36 hundredths of a second. Megan Overstreet will finish in third. Olivier Piatek will take the car home in fourth. Trenton Kramer will finish fifth ahead of Josh Justice, who finishes in sixth.
Yeah, there was a very tight race towards the end, and I don't think Miles kind of had a last ditch opportunity to try and get the move done on Caleb, but you know, the outside is always going to work better. He's always going to be able to carry a lot of speed. But Wozencroft will finish in seventh as we just see Kyle Robertson crossing the line to finish in eighth.
There we go, and I believe that Stephen Blethen and Joaquin Effinger will be our last drivers to take the checkered flag. Blethen finishing ninth. Effinger should come home in 10th. And then Wayne Buttermore will be the last of our running cars, as he'll finish a lap down in 11th.
And I have just seen a message from Skip Brock Jr. in the chat and Discord saying, "I have never felt." Actually, let me go quote this.
Okay.
"I've never felt less confident in a car than in that surf at Barber." So a very difficult combination to figure out here is Skip Brock Jr. finishing 13th, 9 laps down.
All right. Well, let's do this, Morgan. Tell you what. Let's bring in first Caleb Patry, who takes the win. Then we'll bring in Miles Crabb, who comes home with his third regular season championship. Caleb Patry, your winner tonight in Spec Racer 4.
Hello again, Caleb. From going from no practice to the victory circle, that was a very impressive drive from you. It looked like you were just going to kind of wait behind, just watch Miles do his thing, wait until the final few laps. But there was a gap there in the middle of the race that kind of opened up to the tune of about a second. What happened there?
Well, I wish I could say I was just sitting there biding my time behind him, but truthfully, it was a little difficult to keep up that first half of the race. I went from a car in the GR86 that was pretty loosey-goosey, pretty oversteery, to a car that did not want to rotate when you get on the throttle. So that was a bit of a challenge to figure out. And then, I mean, I could get to his bumper, but he'd lose me in a few sections. And then it only took me making a big mistake and losing a second on him to really turn things around and actually turn some decent laps. But it was a great run there with Megan was there for a while, keeping me honest. And then, of course, Miles, he ran a clean race, and it was fun.
Yeah, it did look like you were trying to induce a lot of oversteer into that car, especially in qualifying. We were watching you come through the final few corners, the third to last and second to last corners, and really just kind of stomping on the brakes and turning and getting a lot of oversteer through there. But you adapted very nicely. You ran very well, and you put yourself in the right place at the right time. So congratulations again on your second win. Is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Yes, once again, Steve Ray and everybody who makes these races possible. Apex Racing TV. So we got Greg, Josh, and Morgan in here. Thanks, guys, for the awesome broadcast. Then I'd like to say hi to my family back home, who I'm sure are watching tonight. So hello. See you guys this weekend.
Well, awesome. So we will hopefully be seeing you next week for our runoffs, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Caleb Patry taking the win tonight in Spec Racer Ford. Let's move over. We talked to him a lot tonight, Morgan, but and actually in the last couple of weeks. But let's bring in Miles Crabb. Miles, he finished second on track, but I think more importantly, took his third regular season championship here tonight in Spec Racer Ford.
First of all, big congratulations on running the table all across the Jetta, the Spec Racer Ford, and the Global Mazda MX-5 Cup car. That's no small achievement for sure. But tonight, it looked like you had a lot of pace, and we just heard from Caleb Patry that he was almost struggling to keep up with you for the first half of the race. So you had a lot of pace. Were you just kind of planned to go out and run away?
Well, that's always the plan. I'm really getting tired of finishing second, winning championships. I'd rather win and seal the deal. But anyway, it was as the track heated up in both Jetta and Spec Racer. I wasn't quite as comfortable. I'm glad Caleb thought that I was going to pull away from him, because I fully expected him to pass me like 3 or 4 times. I had to reprogram my brain about 7 laps in, because I was still thinking I was driving the Jetta, and if you touch a curb, you bounce off the racetrack, and the spec racer can just eat curbs all day long. So once I figured out what Caleb was doing through the chicane on the back straight, I actually pulled about a second lead when him and Megan started fighting, and I thought, okay, yeah, this is good. This is going to be fun. I'm going to be able to pull away. And then I made a mistake going into Charlotte's Web. He caught right back up, and it was a fight to the end. And he did what I wanted him to do in the last lap, other than pass me. I didn't want that to happen. But going into, I think it's 15, the pit in, he entered flat, and I got to his outside, and I just, for some reason, was unwilling to send it into the last corner. It's been such a good season. So many good races, and so few incidents up at the front that I didn't want to ruin the last race by sending him off into the air fencing on the outside of 16. So always fun racing with Caleb. He bailed me out when we took a go-kart to the June sprints for the first time at the Briggs and Stratton track. I walked up to him and said, "Hi, I know you from iRacing. What gearing do you run here?" And he was nice enough to give me a setup sheet. So always fun racing with Caleb and Megan, and fun racing at Barber.
Well, there you go. It's a small world out here, and happy to know that you guys linked up in the real world. And congratulations again on your incredible season, and playing it smart, not making many silly moves like you just said. So congratulations again. Anybody you'd like to thank?
Hi Mom, hi Dad. They're watching. Thank y'all for broadcasting. Y'all do an excellent job, and thanks to Stevie for hosting this thing. He does an excellent job, and thank you to everybody who comes out and plays. There's a lot of really fast guys out here. The front guys in most of the classes would be the front guys in the top split in open. So this is a lot of fun.
Well, that is definitely very true. We got a very deep depth of talent in this field. So thank you, and we hope to see you next week at the runoffs.
I plan to be there. Let's see if I can actually do any super sweeps in any of the classes.
Well, we wish you the best of luck after a very successful season.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, there you go. Miles Crabb, he is your season number 10 Spec Miata, Volkswagen Jetta TDI Cup, and Spec Racer Ford regular season champion. And hopefully we'll see him here in just a week's time for the Ray Esports runoffs. And speaking of Stevie Ray and the Ray Esports, let's bring him into the booth. Stevie, thanks for joining us, and hopefully you had a good night out on track here at Barber Motorsports Park.
Yeah, we did a pretty good job. Had a lot of fun. The first race, second race didn't go quite so good, but
yeah,
that's the way it goes.
All right, so we're wrapping up season number 10, and it has been a heck of a ride here now for what are we looking at, about three and a half years now? Yeah. So what do we have coming up in the future here for Ray Esports Racing League?
Well, we've got our runoffs next week, as always, at the end of the season. And then we'll take a little break, and most likely we'll pick back up the middle 12th of December, something like that. Get started before Christmas and keep some momentum going, keep it going. But just to take a few minutes and thank everybody in this league. I mean, I keep saying it's nothing without guys on track, and they really stepped up and supported it this season. As you saw, we didn't have all of our sponsors, so the members actually really stepped up and supported it. Some work going on for next season to have some different sponsors on board, so look forward to that. And thanks to you guys, Greg and Morgan, for stepping up, being in the booth. I bet that was kind of interesting, huh?
Yeah, I really enjoy this. I always like the opportunities to get up here and commentate.
Yeah, you done great. And then with your point of view and your background, it really added to the broadcast. And thanks, Joshua, for doing all the backgrounds and everything that you do. So again, just a big thanks to everybody out there, all the people that follow the league and support it. I can't say enough for this group.
Well, thank you so much, Stevie. And, I guess, well, I was going to wait till next week to let everybody know, but I might as well let everybody know now that after next week's Ray Esports runoffs, I'm going to be stepping away for a little bit. I need a little vacation.
Yeah.
after 3.5 years, I may be coming back, but I'm going to take a little time. And it has been, from the time that we started working together with the Sports Car Club of America's Esports Super Tour, or Super Tour, whatever the heck we called it, all the way through 10 seasons of the Ray Esports Racing League. It has been absolutely wonderful to work with you, and and as I've mentioned, although I might hopefully now get some time to maybe get behind the wheel on Tuesday nights as opposed to be talking all night on Tuesday nights. I'm always here for you, whatever I can do to help out and move the league forward. I've always been a great proponent of what you have been doing to increase awareness of virtual motorsports as it relates to the Sports Car Club of America and just in general. And anything I can do to help the cause, I'm here for you.
I appreciate the kind words, Greg, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you've done through the seasons and given this thing a familiar flavor to everybody. Again, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. So next week, as I mentioned, Stevie, it is going to be the Ray Esports runoffs, winner take all championship races for each of our 4 classes, and not to surprise you. So I was going to have to talk to you about this earlier. Apex Racing TV does have it scheduled for 8 o'clock Eastern time. That's 7 p.m. Central time. Okay. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
Since I know you have to go and set up those sessions, but it's going to be all 4 of our classes. It's going to be the Spec Racer Fords and the Spec Miatas, the Jettas and the Toyotas, all at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, home of the Sports Car Club of America's National Championship runoffs for so many years. They just had the track repaved there, but you'd never know that by racing and iRacing. It's going to be slick as can be as always.
Yeah, not here, and we do have a single sponsor for this one, something that we haven't done in the past. SCCA Foundation themselves has stepped up to pay for a sponsor for this runoff. So
that is amazing. I'm going to have to go thank Jeff Jacobs now.
Yes.
Excellent. Actually, Jeff raced with us a couple of weeks ago.
He has. Yeah.
That is wonderful to hear. All right, so Stevie, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Before we go, to anybody you'd, as we always ask, anybody you'd like to thank? Maybe some of our current sponsors.
Yeah, I didn't get that out. So Grass Paddock and Frank Swartz for all he's done for that class, and we'll be discussing the winners and award those pretty quickly. And Grassroots, that was Grass Paddock Motorsports, and then we got Grassroots Motors magazine. So
don't worry, I've been flubbing it all season long.
Hey, it's the end of the night, so
exactly.
They've been with us for a while now, and really appreciate those guys as well.
Yeah, I want to definitely thank Tim Sutter over at see it, I did it right there. Grassroots Motorsports magazine, who's been with us, I think 9 of the 10 seasons, if I remember correctly, or possibly all 10. I've lost track at this point, and obviously they see the benefit of virtual racing in the amateur racing world. So thanks so much for joining us here tonight, Stevie, and we'll see you next Tuesday night at Mid-Ohio.
Yes, sure will. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Morgan. Thanks, Joshua.
All right, there you go, everybody. That is Stevie Ray, the Ray in Ray Esports Racing. I want to thank him for jumping into the booth. And I guess with that, Morgan, it is time for us to wrap things up here on the regular season. You have any thoughts before we close things down for the night?
I mean, not really. It was wonderful to commentate all season long. Some very close, very, very talented drivers. So very much looking forward to next week. The runoffs, you won't want to miss it.
All right, there you go. That is the word. So for Morgan Burkhardt, for Josh Wilkie, I'm Greg Ginsburg. I want to thank you all for joining us for season number 10 of the Ray Esports Racing League regular season here on Apex Racing TV. And we'll see you next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time for the Ray Esports runoffs. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and have a wonderful week.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.